Good morning, third grade. All right, so I hope you had a great long weekend and I hope you got a little bit of time to spend on your project. I know I got started, I didn't do a lot. I'm gonna make one too, but I got all of my circles cut out. I used a mug, so that's the size of my circles. And today, after our classes, I'm going to start turning these circles into fractions. And I have a fun idea in my head of what I'm going to do for my project. Hopefully you saw the paper that goes along with this project that I sent to your parents. It may not be actual paper, it might be digital, but you may use embellishments. What does that mean? You can use like googly eyes or glitter or a crayon to draw legs or stripes or something like that. Okay, so you may use embellishments, but the majority of the project I want to be made with circles and fractions made from circles. All right, so on Friday, your homework was to do the diagnostic checkpoint on page 545. Okay, remember, diagnostic checkpoint, diagnosing is saying, how are you feeling? What are you doing? What do you know? And so for the diagnostic checkpoint on page 545, I would really like to see if you're understanding what we've been learning. Okay, I don't want to see what your parents understand. Don't want to see what your teacher understands. I want to see what you understand. So if you did not do that yet, okay, if you did not do page 545 and you're watching this video before our Zoom class, I want you to pause right now and I want you to get out your book and I want you to do page 545, okay? Because we're going to go over it in class today and I don't want anybody saying, well, I didn't do it. I didn't know how to do it. I want you to do your best. Even if you don't totally understand, I want you to at least try each problem, okay? And we're gonna go over that. So if you did do it, make sure that you have your book and your paper with you for class today. And if you did not do it, make sure that you do it right now and that you have your book and your paper with you, okay? Because we're gonna go over it together to help all of us see, what do we get? What do we know? What do we not know? All right, so for today, we've been talking about fractions, and now we're going to talk about how fractions and decimals are alike. Now, if you remember our classroom, oh, actually, you guys didn't go into our classroom, but I still brought them in, place value, okay? So remember, when we had place value, we started place value, I think it was the first lesson this year. Okay, so let's say we have 1,234. Notice that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I have this number, okay, 1,234, and that's a decimal point. Whenever I see a decimal point, I say the word and 567 thousandths. Okay, so we're going to find out how decimals and fractions are in the same family. Okay, so we know that to this side of the decimal point are whole numbers, and this side of the decimal point is part of a number. Okay, so a fraction of a number, decimals. Okay, so we have ones, tens, hundreds. On the whole number side, thousands. And then remember, we've talked about this before, but remember on this side, it has on the end of it. Okay, so there are no oneths. Okay, all right, so right next to the decimal point starts with tenths, because if you divided things into one, it would just be the same thing. So we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, etc. Okay, so when you have a number written out and you have tenths, we're just going to do tenths and hundredths today. Tenths and hundredths. What does that mean? And why is it the same as a fraction? Okay, so let's say I have two whole numbers right here. Okay, so two whole squares. All right, and they are the same size. They're the same size number. And I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 divided into tenths, and the other one divided into hundredths. Okay, we're pretending. All right, so tenths, hundredths. They are the same size, but they're divided into different amount of pieces. Okay, so if I have, let's say right here, 5 tenths, that's going to be 5 out of 10. So you read it just like a fraction. 5, the decimal, 0.5 is the same as 5 tenths, and that's how you're going to read it. Okay, so let's say I have 6 hundredths. Okay, I read 6 hundredths like 6 hundredths. Okay, why is there a 0 there? Why is there a 0 there? There's a 0 there because it's holding the space. Okay, so if I have 6 hundredths, I have 0 tenths and 6 hundredths. But up in this problem, how many tenths do I have? 5. So 56 hundredths equals 56 hundredths. Okay. So I'm going to write the decimal with a decimal point, but then I'm going to read it like a fraction, okay? And whatever the last decimal place is, that's the fraction that I say. So if I have 0.56, sorry, it's 56 hundredths because the last one is the hundredths. So if I have 567.567, it's going to be 567 thousandths. All right? So if you look at your homework for tonight, is going to be 565 A and B. Okay? So you're going to write a fraction and a decimal for each shaded part. Okay? So if I have 5 out of 10 pieces shaded in, I'm going to write it as a fraction, 5 over 10, but then I'm also going to write 0.5, 5 tenths, okay? If you forget what we're talking about, make sure that you reread the lesson. I need some coffee, I'm sorry. All right. And then on page 567, you are going, this is tomorrow or today if you're extra ambitious. 567, you're going to do A and B odd, and it's the same, but with hundredths. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna go make some coffee, and you need to do your diagnostic checkpoint if you didn't. If you did, make sure that you bring it with you to class so that we can go over it and not everybody's running around trying to find it. And I will see you in a few minutes.